Hello everybody, it's Gareth here from Paris Technologies, and today I'm going to take you through our quick start tutorial for our payroll planning template. Let's jump right in. All right, so what we're going to try to do today is get some FTE plans from 5 different departments, and we're going to consolidate them into one template. And we're just going to use Excel's normal functionality. So we're going to use Excel tables, and we're going to use PowerQuery. There is 2 tabs here that are kind of useful. One is an explanation of how this model works, and the other is some instructions, step-by-step instructions. But I'm going to run through it for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send out these templates to each of our department heads, and we're going to ask them to tell us who's going to be there for the rest of this year and who's going to be there next year. And they're going to give us their full-time equivalent FTE, and all they need to do is for each department head or region, we're going to fill in who's here and who's not here. Now, for you, I've given you a whole lot of user-defined fields that you can use if you want. It's defaulting for region and department. If you use any of these user-defined fields, just make sure to use the same name in every template. That's the only important part. Okay, once you've sent those templates out to the people you're helping you with, make sure you save them back in the same folder as the main template with exactly the same name, because PowerQuery is going to look for that name. And if you and you need it to have the same name. All right. So what's going to happen? And I'm just going to delete these rows so we can show you what happens. If you ever want to do this, feel free. But do not delete the top row, because that top row contains the formulas. So this row here. Okay, if I refresh, and we just go refresh, it's going to reach out to those other workbooks, and it's going to pull back all of that data that our contributors have given us. And then if I'm going to go to this lookup tab, and I'm going to refresh as well, and what this is going to do is it's going to create this list of employee IDs and the list of names. Now, there are some things that you have to fill in this model and some things that you can just are optional. The first thing you're going to need is we need the monthly salary for each employee. And then we need, if they're going to get an increase this year, we need to know how much it is and what month that the increase will happen in. And then we need the salary for next year. And we need to know if they're going to get an increase next year, how much or what percentage and what month. So these are really important, that you're going to need it and it's going to be looked up. Everything else is kind of optional. And I just want everyone to remember that we're using Excel here. So you know Excel, you can customize it as much as you want. The whole point, though, is to maintain this key. So here you see you've got FTE this year, salary this year, FTE next year, salary next year. And those are grayed out because you have to fill those in, or this model doesn't really work. Everything else is open for you to input. And you can see I've given you 10 calculations for this year and 10 for next year. All right. So what's the point? If we go and look at this planning template, all we're doing really is we're just taking, for each person, we're going to calculate more and more things out to the right. It's just Excel formulas, and we're just going to keep calculating and calculating. And what I've done is I've repeated the Jan to December and the totals with a tag of each type of calculation has a tag at the end. So January 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. And each of these formulas now is written out for you. And what it does is it takes this the amount in this column, and it then spreads it by month. Very simple formulas. Okay, just Excel, you can do it yourself. I'm just helping you get started really, really quickly. All right, there's 2 types of formulas that you can use. Right? One is just a simple lookup. So if you wanted to just look up something, you say, for example, you have a medical plan, and if people, everybody should have it, and it costs a certain amount, a fixed amount per month, then you just put in the fixed amount for that person, and then it'll just look up this amount. The other type of calculation, which is very common in payroll, is a percentage of the monthly amount up to a maximum. So if there's no maximum, you can just leave it blank. But if it's up to a maximum, you can just fill this in. And there's 20 options here, and there's 20 options here. So each one, it's the same. You can fill it in either way. And then all you need to do within this key is you need to tell it, is it going to be the lookup calculation or is it a calculation, the percentage calculation? And you can see I've just given you a drop down here. Pick one of those. Okay. So this will get you started really nice and quickly if you fill this in. And the key though is whether you use the formulas or not, it's very important that you fill in the short name and the description. And I'll show you why. Okay, the calculations themselves, very simple Excel calculations. You can do anything you want in here. Feel free to customize it completely. However, where it gets a little clever is right at the end, once you've done all this work, you come to this table here. And again, just for example, I'll just show you. I'll just quickly delete this, all these lines. And all you need to do is you come here at the end of all your hard work and hit refresh. And it's going to populate this table for you, this export table. And this is the sort of critical part, or the part that adds the key value for you. There you can see it's running this PowerQuery. And what it's doing is it's going and getting all of this data and it's unpivoting it. That means that it's going to put all the values down in one row. So you can see you've got your values down here. Here's your months. And why is this important? Or why do I like this technique? Well, first of all, you can see I'm able to split out that number at the end of the month. And then I'm just using XLOOKUP to bring back the short name and the description from this key table. So that's why I said maintaining this is really helpful, because it's going to give you this value. And then secondly, when you unpivot data, it makes it really easy to pivot. Sounds silly, but what happens is if you go, now, of course, if you think about pivot, one of the most obvious ways of getting reports out of Excel is using Excel's pivot table function. Very valuable. So let's just do that. Let's just quickly drop a pivot on. And straight away, I can do anything I want. But because I've got the month in the options here, it's so much easier to get some data out. So very quickly now, I've got something there. And if I just put the key in the, the description in here, I can say, well, what's the FTE for this year? So, of course, like a good chef, I've already prepared one for you, but you can very quickly get some really great data out. So unpivoting it allows this really easy reporting functionality. Secondly, by the way, pivot's not the only way you can use this. SUMIFs, the SUMIFs formula is really powerful against a table that's in this format. All right, and then finally, very often this is the type of format that is going to be used to load into another technology. So what you can do then is you can look up some things like general ledger code, department codes, and things like that, and you can prepare a little text file that you can then just copy into a little text editor, save it, and load it up into your next, into your general ledger or your reporting tool or whatever it is. So all of this goes together. Okay. That's our quick start video, and look out for another video where I'll go into a little bit more detail about the PowerQuery side of it in case you want to build this out into an even bigger model. All right. Thanks for watching.